As the air turns crisp and the holidays draw near, comfort becomes the best gift of all. Quince delivers layers that last, sweaters, outerwear, and everyday essentials that feel luxurious, look timeless, and make holiday dressing and gifting effortless. Quince has it all. $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters made for everyday wear. Denim that never goes out of style. I got a really cute pair of jeans the other day. Silk tops and skirts that add polish and down outerwear built to take on the season. Perfect for gifting or upgrading your own wardrobe. I love that. Like a gift for you and a little gift for me too. Everybody's happy. Quince Italian wool coats are at the top of my list. The cuts feel designer and quality rivals high-end brands, but without the high-end markup. I love that. By working directly with ethical top-tier factories, Quince skips the middleman and offers prices 50% less than similar brands. I've got some good Quince pieces in my wardrobes with me. They do a lot of linens, which are perfect vacation wears since it's warm where I am. Step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince. Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/ratchet for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/ratchet to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/ratchet. You ever walk in a store and you have no idea what wine to get? Yeah, me too. Happens to the best of us. I've stopped wasting time at the grocery store staring at a giant wall of wine and not knowing what wine to pick. That's why I rely on Naked Wines. This podcast is sponsored by Naked Wines. Naked Wines is a wine club that directly connects you to the world's best independent winemakers so you can get world-class wine delivered straight to your door. Use our code RATCHET for the code and password at nakedwines.com and get $100 off your first order. That's 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99. I had a good glass of rosé from Naked Wines the day before I left for the airport. A little goodbye celebration, if you will. Let me explain to you how Naked Wines works. They bring you amazing wine straight from the winery at up to 60% less than you would pay in the store. I love good savings, you know that. By cutting out extra costs like middleman markups, winemakers can pass those savings on to us, the customers, without skimping on quality. Now, I love Naked Wines because they ship it directly to my house means I always have wine on hand. Naked Wines has been around for over 15 years and backs over 90 independent winemakers around the world who make the wine you love to drink. Now is the time to join the Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/ratchet. Click enter voucher and put in my code RATCHET for both the code and password for $100 off your first order. That's 6 bottles for only $39.99 with shipping included. And that's $100 off your first 6 bottles at nakedwine.com/ratchet. And use the code and password RATCHET for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. What do you want? Not family, not friends, not society at large, you. What do you want and how do you want it? Without the noise of external opinions, you may have the space to find out. On the dating app field, curiosity leads the way towards intimacy with others and yourself. If life on field interests you, here's a closer look at exactly what happens there. Now, I love field because it doesn't gatekeep connection. In an age where dating apps create hurdles to finding your people, field is built differently. My favorite part, there's no fast swipe culture. Sometimes attraction takes time. Here, you don't have to make a split decision in order to see another person. Skip profiles, go back, and take the time you need to decide if you really like someone. Are you ready to give Field a try? That's FEELD. Download Field on the App Store or Google Play. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. Since the last time we spoke, I have promptly hopped on a plane for 13 hours and 40 minutes. I don't know why they just won't call it a 14-hour flight, but I've taken my talents back to Africa. I am back in Cape Town for roughly 5 weeks or so. I've packed enough to stay gone for 5 months if I need to. I was planning to return home for Penny for New Year's Eve, but Penny may not be ready. So, what's the point in me being there? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I am 7 hours into the future. It is 3:27 in the goddamn morning. I have already taken a nap. I am wide awake because my body thinks it's, I don't know, what's 7, 3? It's 8:30. My body thinks it's 8:30 East Coast time and it was like, why are we laying in bed? I had not recorded the podcast for the day. I have a hair appointment at 7. So my thought process is if I record the podcast in the middle of the night, I can edit it while I'm getting my hair braided. This is my thought process. Let's hope that it all works out. We have much to discuss today. The big news story right now, and it could change at any time given our current leadership, but the Epstein files, even though I've been calling for the release of the files for months and months and months, I'm not convinced that what is going to be released is the true and clear version of whatever the files are. 45, 47, despite campaigning about transparency and releasing the Epstein files for the last few months, has been adamantly against it. And then all of a sudden, maybe like 48 hours ago, decided that, oh no, now he's all for it. So I'm trying to figure out like what this change of heart has been. Something's very off. Epstein's brother, which I guess we need to talk about him now. Epstein's brother was like, yeah, there's some facility where the files are at and they're redacting information about Republicans. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is actually released, but I don't trust that it won't be redacted. The Epstein estate has been releasing information, particularly emails. I think they released, was it 22,000 pages of emails that they've released like in the last week while we're waiting for the House and the Senate and 45, 47 to like get to release the actual files. One of the emails that was released, it was a conversation between Epstein and his brother. They allude to 45, 47 performing oral sex on someone named Bubba and Vladimir Putin. That Putin, the president of Russia, apparently has photos of this fallacious, is that a word? It's about to be one for these purposes, for this activity. I was like, what? People assumed and mercilessly started clowning that 45, 47 had given a blowjob to Bill Clinton because his nickname is Bubba. And, you know, he is notoriously known for liking blowjobs. So it kind of just made sense. People did clown. It was an epic day of clowning on the internet. My favorite was this guy was like, God damn, Bill Clinton's dick don't care who suck it. And I was like, yo, that's enough internet. Epstein's brother, who had this email exchange about Trump and the fellatio in this email exchange, made a point to clarify, maybe after 48 hours of clowning, made a point to clarify, hey, y'all, the Bubba that was referred to in the email isn't Bill Clinton. I just wanted to clear that up, which, okay, thank you. That's good for Hillary. But here's my thing, right? The brother took the time to clarify it's the wrong Bubba. But he didn't actually say, hey, that exchange, we were just joking around. Donald Trump didn't suck anybody's dick. He didn't say that. He also didn't say, hey, we were just kidding. Putin doesn't actually have photos of Donald Trump sucking somebody's dick. He didn't clarify that. Only that the person whose dick got sucked was not Bill Clinton. And I was like, so wait. Does that mean that there's actually photos of 45, 47 sucking somebody's dick? What? I say this, and it's not my first time saying it. I've had to say it a million times. Shonda Rhimes, Aaron Sorkin, brilliant storytellers, brilliant writers. There is no possible way that they could have come up with this shit. David Simon, The Wire, no possible way they could have come up with some shit like this. And we're living it. We're living it. On the plane, I watched this. I almost called it a documentary. It's a movie called Civil War. Apparently it came out in 2024. I'd never heard anything about it. And I was like, oh, what is this? Because I jokingly talk about California seceding from the Union. Sometime during COVID, I noticed that Gavin Newsom, governor of California, for those outside the country, had started referring to California as a nation state. And then he repeatedly kept mentioning that California has either the fifth or fourth largest economy in the world, just as a state. And then he also keeps pointing out, with the administration threatening to withhold funds for various reasons, he was like, hey, California pays more in federal taxes than we get back. We actually fund all this red state bullshit. So, like, if you won't help us when we need help, then we'll keep our money and help ourselves. The idea of California succeeding from the union is not really as far-fetched as people make it out to be. So I see this movie called Civil War, and I was like, I wonder what this is about. Essentially, a president takes over and is fucking nutso. Half the country rebels. And it's about these photojournalists who were documenting the final days of the Second American Civil War. I was riveted watching the movie. So the movie came out in 2024. I'm going to go ahead and just guess it's before the election. So obviously before all the crazy things that have happened in the last 11 months, which makes an American Civil War less far-fetched than it was even under 47's first presidency. It's really, I'm trying not to give the plot away. It's very compelling in the sense that, which I didn't even recognize until I was watching the movie, we have been bombarded over the years with images of leaders of other nations falling, or atrocities, mass killings, genocide, mass graves, toppling dictators, like Saddam, for instance. They find him in a hole, or Papa Doc and his wife in the limousine fleeing Haiti. The movie takes a lot of imagery and stories and atrocities that we've seen happen in what we would like to call third world countries, and then applies it to what happens in the United States. There's a scene in the movie where a Southern American city, it looks like the helicopters over Vietnam, or America exiting Saigon. It's wild. The movie is very much, I think when I wrote about it online, I described it as The Walking Dead because of the lack of people. The Walking Dead meets Angel Has Fallen in terms of like the action. It's really good action. Highly recommend, but it's just so eerie to watch because I was like, are they predicting our future? Because it kind of seems like that's where all of this is headed at some point. Did you see there was a reporter, I think she was from Newsweek? She's part of the White House press corps, and she was asking 47 something about the Epstein files, and he pointed at her, like pointed at her face and was like, quiet, quiet, piggy. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, of all the things that he's done so far, and there have been so many, I have been appalled, I have been outraged, I have been incensed, I am angry, I am confused. But this one, and actually not but this one, and this one, I was like, oh, he's just completely unhinged. It's like there's no bottom. Like he's not even trying to act like with any, I don't know, dignity or decent character. Like he's not even pretending. I could rant about him all day. I'm not going to. We have to circle back to talk about politics when we talk about, oh no, I guess we should just get it over with. I was going to say Pharrell for later in the episode, but Pharrell and Nicki Minaj both need to be discussed. So here we go. Nicki Minaj, your girl, you claim her, I can't. Nicki Minaj recently spoke at the UN. She was invited by the U.S. ambassador, and her topic was Christians who are being persecuted in Nigeria. Couple things. I had to look this up on BBC because I remember 47 talking about the Christians who were being persecuted and possibly invading Nigeria to protect the persecuted Christians. And then the Nigerian president promptly responding and being like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we don't have a Christian persecution issue here. Like, we got issues, sure. This is not something that we need your help or we need you to invade our country to solve. Like, I'm sure there's some mineral or metal in Nigeria that some tech billionaire needs to access. And that's where all this is coming from. This man is not a Christian. This man don't give two shits about Christians. But okay, so I had to look this up on BBC because American media is kind of trash and Nigerian government is kind of corrupt. I was like, what is the actual real story here about Nigeria and these persecuted Christians? Okay, I would have believed without looking it up that Nigeria was a predominantly Christian country. Most of the Nigerians I know are staunchly Christian. I'm glad I looked it up. Nigeria is mostly Muslim in the north, mostly Christian in the south. For the most part, they coexist. Nigeria has I would call it a terrorist organization, Boko Haram. Do you remember about 10 years ago, there was a big story with Boko Haram? They had gone to like a village or a school and they'd stolen a bunch of young girls. And then Michelle Obama held up a sign and said, bring back our girls. Do you remember this? Okay. Boko Haram is to Nigeria kind of like what the Taliban is to Afghanistan, except they're not in charge. Taliban is in charge in Afghanistan and they are oppressing the fuck out of women. Boko Haram is an extremist organization and they happen to be Muslim. I don't think the Muslim is the issue. I think the extremist is the issue. They kind of want to do in Nigeria what the Taliban is doing in Afghanistan. And as such, they do terrorize and they do kill. According to the BBC, over the last 10 years, there have been deaths, thousands of deaths, tens of thousands of Christians because of Boko Haram. There's also been tens of thousands of deaths of Muslims also because of Boko Haram. They don't like people that don't adhere to their extremist beliefs. So if you're just like, regular, degular, like Muslim, following the Quran, doing your prayers, minding your business, but not trying to like infringe on other people's ish, they don't like you because you're not extremist. You just a minding your business Muslim and not an extremist Muslim. So they've been attacking Muslims as well. So the idea that Christians being attacked is true. But Muslims are also being attacked along with anyone else who doesn't agree with their extremist beliefs. So the idea that there's like a Christian genocide, that's not happening. Are Christians being killed? Yes. Are Muslims also being killed? Yes. But are Christians being specifically targeted? Everybody who's not an extremist is being targeted because Boko Haram wants to take over the region and eventually the whole country. That's where this is coming from. Understand that the whole premise of Nicki Minaj going to the UN to talk about Christians being persecuted, specifically in Nigeria, is a faulty premise. Start there. What's also faulty, I don't even know where to begin with this. Do I want to start with Nicki? Do I want to start with the administration? Start with the administration. We just talked about the Epstein scandal, which has been an undercurrent for this administration for the last 11 months. It revved up in the last 6 weeks, month or so, when a new congresswoman was elected and Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, wouldn't swear her in because her vote would tip the scales of the House and they would have enough votes to vote on the Epstein files being released. So that's when it sort of revved up. So everything the administration's been doing, people are like, yeah, but what about them Epstein files? At the heart of the Epstein files, I'm only explaining this to make the point about Nicki Minaj, is rape, abuse, young girls, pedophilia. These are all conversations that have been heavily in the zeitgeist. Of all people to choose to represent the administration about anything, especially at this time, why would you choose a woman? We'll talk about all the other reasons it make no sense to pick Nicki Minaj, but let's start here. Why would you choose a woman whose brother is a convicted sex offender and who is married to a man who served time for a sex offense, rape, and that is also a registered sex offender? Like, why, in the middle of a scandal about pedophilia, the abuse, assault, rape of girls, would you go pick anyone, not even just a rapper, but anyone that has any affiliations with anything to do with sex offenses? Why? They like that shit. Also, I had to look this up because I was like, refresh my memory, refresh me. Nicki Minaj is a Caribbean woman. Nicki Minaj is from Trinidad. Nicki Minaj is a rapper. She's not a particularly outspoken political rapper. You tell me Common is talking about politics. Common's always talking about politics. It makes sense. You want to tell me like John Legend is out here talking about politics? You want to say like Doechii is talking about politics? Kerry Washington? Kerry Washington is always talking about politics. She's always campaigning for something. She's always raising awareness about something. Like, yeah. I can't recall Nicki Minaj speaking up about shit. When I think of Nicki Minaj, good, bad, or indifferent, and this is no shade to her, I'm just speaking on a personal like branding level, right? When I think about Nicki Minaj, I think about rapper, I think about Barbie, I think about hair, I think about fashion, I think about injections, I think about body modification, I think about her sex offender husband, I think about Papa Bear. I think about her arguing on the fucking internet all the time. I've never thought about Nicki Minaj and been like, strong Christian values, good Christian woman. And she might be. I am a Christian woman. If you listen to the podcast or if you follow me online, you hear me talk about my pastor every now and again. I do watch church. I do consider myself a Christian, but I don't think the first thing that pops in people's head when they think about me is like, oh, strong Christian beliefs, core Christian values. It's just not what pops in your head. I don't understand why, of all people, you know who should really represent us right now? Talk about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. A woman who has never been to Nigeria, who we've never heard mention Nigeria before this, who we don't associate with Christian values, and has a sex offender brother and is married to a registered sex offender. That's who should come represent us at the United Nations. I would just think that, if I was like, you know what, we need somebody black, because this is obviously a DEI situation, right? We need somebody black to come talk about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. I'm like, is there no one Nigerian available? Yvonne Orji. She is one Nigerian. She's also a Christian. The woman ain't never had sex because of her Christian beliefs. Was Yvonne Orji not available? Not at all. Lovey. I know she's not really in good standing right now with a lot of people. She is a Nigerian woman. She is known for her religious beliefs. She speaks openly about being a Christian. To the best of my knowledge, she has not been accused of sexual assault. Not being married to a felon, not being married to a registered sex offender has got to be a bonus of some sort. Was she not available? Was there no one who's ever been to Nigeria available? I just don't understand. And then also the same thing with Nicki Minaj. Like, okay, for whatever reason, she's been flirting with MAGA content online as of late. She's got a big following. I'm sure that played into it. They were like, oh, Nicki seems friendly. She's got like millions of followers. Let's see if we can, get her on board. But even like when the UN or this US ambassador reached out to Nicki Minaj and was like, hey, we want you to come speak at the UN about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. Did no one in Camp Nikki? I swear there can't be a camp at this point. It's impossible that she has a publicist. Did no one in the group chat, like when this idea was thrown out, was like, hey sis, maybe aligning yourself with the administration right now when they're, associated with like the abuse of girls and pedophilia and rape and sexual assault and this whole Epstein Island situation, given how bad people come at you over your brother and especially over your registered sex offender husband, do you think maybe aligning yourself with, pedophilia and sex abuse and rape, this might not be the best time for you to be all MAGA-y? Because even though she was like, this isn't about politics, it absolutely is. You're going to the UN for the US ambassador who was appointed under Trump. Like, stop it. But no one said that, you know what, this really probably isn't the greatest synergy here. This is not the time to have this kind of affiliation. No one. You want to find a good Christian? I'm like, was Yolanda Adams not available? And not to say Yolanda Adams is associated with MAGA. I'm just thinking of Christian people who are known for their Christianity, like a T.D. Jakes or like a Kirk Franklin, one of the Mary Marys. Isn't Mean Mary? Isn't she MAGA? None of it makes sense. I'm trying to make sense of shit that don't make sense, and it's never gonna make sense. It's just not. As the air turns crisp and the holidays draw near, comfort becomes the best gift of all. Quince delivers layers that last, sweaters, outerwear, and everyday essentials that feel luxurious, look timeless, and make holiday dressing and gifting effortless. Quince has it all. $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters made for everyday wear. Denim that never goes out of style. I got a really cute pair of jeans the other day. Silk tops and skirts that add polish and down outerwear built to take on the season. Perfect for gifting or upgrading your own wardrobe. I love that. Like a gift for you and a little gift for me too. Everybody's happy. Quince Italian wool coats are at the top of my list. The cuts feel designer and quality rivals high-end brands, but without the high-end markup. I love that. By working directly with ethical top-tier factories, Quince skips the middleman and offers prices 50% less than similar brands. I've got some good Quince pieces in my wardrobes with me. They do a lot of linens, which are perfect vacation wears since it's warm where I am. Step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince. Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/ratchet for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/ratchet to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/ratchet. You ever walk in a store and you have no idea what wine to get? Yeah, me too. Happens to the best of us. I've stopped wasting time at the grocery store staring at a giant wall of wine and not knowing what wine to pick. That's why I rely on Naked Wines. This podcast is sponsored by Naked Wines. Naked Wines is a wine club that directly connects you to the world's best independent winemakers so you can get world-class wine delivered straight to your door. Use our code RATCHET for the code and password at nakedwines.com and get $100 off your first order. That's 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99. I had a good glass of rosé from Naked Wines the day before I left for the airport. A little goodbye celebration, if you will. Let me explain to you how Naked Wines works. They bring you amazing wine straight from the winery at up to 60% less than you would pay in the store. I love good savings, you know that. By cutting out extra costs like middleman markups, winemakers can pass those savings on to us, the customers, without skimping on quality. Now, I love Naked Wines because they ship it directly to my house means I always have wine on hand. Naked Wines has been around for over 15 years and backs over 90 independent winemakers around the world who make the wine you love to drink. Now is the time to join the Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/ratchet. Click enter voucher and put in my code RATCHET for both the code and password for $100 off your first order. That's 6 bottles for only $39.99 with shipping included. And that's $100 off your first 6 bottles at nakedwine.com/ratchet. And use the code and password RATCHET for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. You know what else don't make no damn sense? Pharrell Williams does this interview. He's asked about politics. Does it say where he is? I'm reading this on Complex. 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day. I have no idea what this is, but yay for 5 years of ambitious Black. He's asked about his current stance on the political landscape. This is what I'm reading on Complex. To which he responds, I hate politics. Me too. He says, like, despise them. Me too. He says, it's a magic trick. Not sure where you're going. Okay. He says, it's not real. Oh, no, it's very real. We feel the impacts of it on a daily basis. It's very real. He says, I don't believe in either side. Okay. I kind of feel you. All right. He says, because I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division. Huh? And then he says, yes, it's not a popular point of view, but I just got to say, when I think about it, the wells are drying up. Huh? I'm a smart lady. I can't really pronounce shit. Pause, by the way. Okay, so like Fonzie Bear, Fozzie. I completely fucked that one up. I thought that bear's name was Fonzie, like since I was a child. Last week's episode, I was recording at like 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of like I am right now, and I referred to Tyler the Creator as Travis the Creator. I must have been thinking about Travis Scott in the back of my head. I don't know anybody else named Travis, but like, okay, I know who Tyler the Creator was. It was literally just a misspeak. I'll take the L's for the things that like I fuck up, which I know I fuck up pronunciations. It was really just the middle of the night and I didn't catch it in edits. Just clear that up. Okay. All right. So back to Pharrell. So, couple things. I have this theory that I've shared on here why good guys actually need bad guys. And it's why men don't often speak up about the bad behavior of other men. Because good men need bad men to be bad so they can be slightly better and be like, but look how good I am. Like, at least I don't do that. Like, I'm a good guy. Same thing with Democrats and Republicans. Democrats need Republicans to be absolutely awful so that they don't really have to do that much good. I think in the current political landscape, watching Democratic leadership just fucking fumble over and over and over and over, there is a part of me that thinks that they're all in cahoots and all on the same side. Especially with what happened with the New York City mayoral election with Mandomni. I'm like, the man is the Democratic nominee. He wasn't appointed. He ran for office. The people voted for him in the primary, and then they went ahead and voted for him in the general election. And the Democrats just refused to support the man that was the Democratic nominee. And I was like, that's not right. He's a Democratic socialist, yes, but he's also still a Democrat. But you wanted Andrew Cuomo, who wasn't even running as a goddamn Democrat, who was backed by MAGA. But you still wanted him, even with the MAGA backing, even though he wasn't running as a Democrat, you wanted him over the actual Democrat. Also, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been on this sort of redemption tour where she's pretending to be a whole different person. And I say pretending very intentionally because this shit is an act. Where she's pretending to be a whole different person than she has been for the last 5-6 years. That woman is out of her goddamn mind. She has terrorized politics. She has terrorized Jasmine Crockett. Remember Jasmine Crockett, like bad built, butch, bleach, B6, whatever that was. All of that happened because Marjorie Taylor Greene tried talking crazy to her, and that was Jasmine Crockett's response. She has a long list of what the fuck behavior. One of them is she tried to run, not even tried, she ran up on one of the students who survived Columbine. One of her claims to fame was pretending that Columbine was a hoax. I'm sorry, not Columbine, Parkland. I just want to note here that 17 people were killed in the Parkland school shooting in February 2018. Now she's out here pretending to be like a regular person with self-regulation who actually has common sense. It's an act. She's running for Senate and she needs the vote statewide, not just in her crazy district. So she's temporarily acting like she has good sense to the point that she's been out here like apologizing for her previous behavior. And I was just like, yo, you taking it way far. I bring her up right after Mandomni to point out because she has had this change of heart and she's out here on this apology tour. There have been Democrats who are trying to recruit her into the party. You heard me correctly. Congressman Jamie Raskin, he's a Democrat, unfortunately from Maryland. He was speaking at a brunch the other day in Miami, and he said that the Democratic Party is, quote, a big tent, big, huge, vast. He says, I say this is a party that's got room for Marjorie Taylor Greene if she wants to come over. We got room for anybody who wants to stand up for the Constitution and for the Bill of Rights today. Where was this welcoming energy with the Democratic nominee who was running for mayor of New York City? You'll let this bad-built, bleach blonde lady into the party before you'll accept the Muslim guy who was the Democratic nominee who won the election, who is the future mayor of New York City into the party? I've not heard anyone say that about Zohran Mamdani. But the lady who is out here literally calling school shootings a hoax, y'all let her in. Really? Really? So Pharrell, him saying, I hate politics, I get it. Him saying, I despise it, I get it. Him saying it's a magic trick, not so much magic, just basically a bunch of gaslighting, but sure. What bothers me here is because what MAGA is doing is so extreme. For you to be a black man with a microphone in your face, you see the attacks on black folk, the attacks on black people's rights, the black women losing their jobs, the erasure of black people from all aspects of federal government. All this DEI shit where they're trying to pretend that everybody black and accomplished is unqualified and only got their job because they're black. You're a very, 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 very wealthy black man. You sitting over in Paris playing around with Louis Vuitton. I get it. You just want to sell your menswear in peace. I get it. You don't want to get in the fray of it. You're just like, hey, whoever got the money to buy this really expensive shit, I just want them to buy it. Like, I don't want to get in the middle of it. But sir, you are. You have an obligation to be in the middle of it. And I really feel like if you just don't want to address this type of shit, then just go sit in your laboratory and make your little designs and go on about your business. But don't show up on panels in the middle of like a fraught political climate and not want to like have an opinion about all the crazy shit that's going on right now. I don't particularly want to have an opinion about all the crazy shit that's going on right now. I much prefer to sit around and talk about pop culture and movie reviews and whatever's going on with Offset and Cardi, which we'll talk about briefly. But like, I would much prefer to have those conversations. But like, given the climate, I can't. And neither can you. Nigga, you from the hood. All of Virginia Beach is not hood. The part that he's from, he literally grew up in the projects. And he was like, oh, but you know, like I had ADHD and I was really into music. And so like I was kind of in my own little world, blah, blah, blah. Sure you were. You're like the Aquila and the Bee of the fucking project, but you still saw everything that happened around you. You're still a nigga from Virginia. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, I don't have an opinion on politics. Your producing partner, Chad, I know y'all don't fuck with each other over like some money stuff right now, but like you met Chad when he was 12. He was born in Virginia. He's American. His parents are from the Philippines. There's no way you weren't around his parents. There's no way you didn't go to his house. There's no way you wasn't around his people. You have a deep and personal relationship with the immigrant community because of your producing partner. You've seen the videos like all of us have of these masked men grabbing people off the damn street. And you don't have an opinion on that? Pharrell had more to say. He wasn't done. I just mentioned DEI. I want to circle back to that. He had commentary on that as well. I'm reading this on The Root. It says, Williams went on to share his thoughts on supporting businesses and hiring people solely based off their skin color. It says he took the time to survey the crowd to see how many black people were in the room. And then he questioned, do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? Why is it an either or? Why can't it be both? He says, so I think now for me, it's about us having the best ambition. And that's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based off the thesis that they're the best, not because of a shade of skin color. Tell me you're MAGA without telling me you're MAGA. He later added, if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that, because that's what's going to get you to the position. Does he not remember how he got his job? Sir, are you not a DEI hire at Louis Vuitton? Are we talking about it? Let's talk about it. You were hired because they needed another black creative face to do what Virgil did. And when you got hired, everybody was like, Pharrell? Why? Like, you make great music. You had some good fashion collaborations, but it wasn't nowhere on like Louis Vuitton Virgil type level. Stop it. You got hired because you're a cool black dude. They thought if they got another cool black dude, they could put a bunch of people around him and he'd make some cool black design. It would give the line some cool, some edge, that hip hop flavor feeling, whatever. That's why you're there. Don't pretend otherwise. You're doing a great job, but like in the true sense of DEI. I love lots of the things that you've done. But honestly, like you didn't actually go to school for design. If I recall, neither did Virgil, but he worked his way up in fashion while you were making beats. You kind of just know how to pick hot shit, which is a talent and skill all within itself. It's usually something applied to like stylists, but like, sure, okay. But now you're like the head of like one of the biggest fashion houses like in the world with no design background. And you can't even speak up for DEI and black people? Come on. Pharrell. I expected better. And maybe I shouldn't, but I did. Little vampire ass. Oh, what else? We've been running through topics. This is very good. Oh, can we go back to Nikki real quick? Because I had a point that I didn't make and I want to just add it in. Okay, so like Nikki and I said that like, like she hasn't been in Nigeria and she's not particularly somebody I associate with Christianity, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that you have to be from Nigeria to care what's happening to Nigeria. I don't think you have to be Christian to care about the persecution of Christians. I care about many things that are going on in the world and in places that I've never been. I care about what's happening in Palestine. I care about the famine in Sudan. I am not Jamaican. I very much care about the recovery and restoration of Jamaica after the most recent hurricane. I think we should all care about atrocities that are happening around in the world. I just don't understand why, of all the fucking people who could speak on, Nigeria or Christianity, you would pick somebody who has like absolutely zero affiliation with either. And the only thing that she really has in common with the entire administration is everybody's got some weird support and affiliation with sex offenses. Shit's weird. Okay, now I'm done. We don't have no good black news this week. Mm-mm. I'm looking at the list. There's nothing good on here. Nikki in Nigeria certainly ain't it. I wrote down Jasmine Sullivan instead of Jasmine Crockett. People, MAGA, I guess, is probably behind it, have been coming after cousin Jasmine yet again. Remember before it was like she's pretending to be ghetto. She's got all this like, elitist shit in her background. And I was like, wait, like, why did you think she was ghetto to begin with? Because she's black? So now the issue is Jasmine Crockett has spent $75,000 on travel and security in 2025. So this information was presented. Remember that stakeout? Was it the Daily Mail? Did on Wendy Williams. They went and sat outside her house and followed her around, her and her husband, followed them around for a year. And they was like, hey, the husband got a girlfriend and Wendy paid for the cars and his name is on the mailbox and they be going to the gym on Saturday. And this is all that's been going on. Or remember the mayor of New Orleans? TD. They did a stakeout with TD. They sat across the street from the apartment that was paid for by the city, and they saw TD sitting outside on the patio, and they saw her little boyfriend going in and out of the apartment all the time. That was a stakeout. So they made it seem like with Jasmine Crockett, like somebody went digging through the trash and found these like secret receipts to talk about how much money Jasmine spent. They found the numbers from her FEC filings. All members of Congress are required by law to report their expenses. And then the FEC publishes them on fec.gov. So all this information about Jasmine and like this is what she spent on security and this is what she spent on car service and this is what she spent on hotels and this is what she spent on flights. All of it. It's like 1,100 entries for this year. And I went through them. All of it is available on this site. So a couple things. $50,000 for Jasmine Crockett security. I was like, ma'am, are you using discount security? Because I need you to have security with you like everywhere you go. The way the administration be coming at you, putting a target on you. I don't need you to have security like when you feel like having security, like, oh, I got a big event, I should have security. Ma'am, I want you to have 24/7 round the clock security. And that costs more than $50,000. I feel like your security budget at minimum could be doubled. Spend more. Her hotel and travel expenses. I guess the people who published it don't really travel like that because there was nothing particularly crazy on the list. Like they have on here that she stayed at the Times Square edition and it was $1,100 a night. And I was like, I mean, yeah, it's a hotel room in New York City. You can't get a decent hotel. And you can get a hotel. Now, hear what I said. You can't get a decent hotel for under $350 a night off season and closer to $450, $500 during prime season or during an event, during the summer or during the holidays or during Fashion Week, during the G20, which, by the way, is going to be in South Africa at the end of the month. I heard the G20 parties in New York were epic. None of her list was like crazy excessive. And I was like, she's a sitting congresswoman of the United States. Do you expect her to be staying, I don't know, at like the Hillside Suites, which, by the way, she also stays at? And I was like, Jasmine, honey, why? I want you in a proper hotel with some decent security, in addition to your personal security, which you need to be getting more of, please and thank you. But like, I want her staying at decent places who are accustomed to having notable people around, who have their own security situation going in the lobby, who know how to handle VIPs, who understand discretion. These are all things that are very important and why people choose to stay at the hotels that they stay at. I am not a sitting member of Congress, and these are things that I look for in a hotel. I don't stay at certain hotels because I want to have a good night's sleep. I have a certain desire for comfort. I have a certain desire for safety, as should she. The fuck? But people have been on her ass and for no reason. One, this isn't a gotcha. She published the information herself. And two, I started going through like other people's expenses. She's not excessively spending. Like, yes, she does stay at fancy places, but again, she also stays, like I mentioned, Homewood Suites, or is it Hillwood Suites? One of them little budget hotels. She also tends to stay at Marriott's. She also excessively travels on Southwest. They have direct flights from DC to Dallas. I'm going to go ahead and guess she's going back and forth to her base. But for the vast majority of her spending, very regular, very degular, very like, ma'am, I'm not comfortable with you staying here out of my own concern for your security. Like, please keep yourself safe. Oh, wait, this might be good Black news. Cardi and Stephon Diggs, they had the baby. She had a little boy last week. Good for Cardi. Congratulations to her. And Stephon Diggs, I think does he have more children on the way? I know that there was a woman who said she had a baby by him and he was demanding a paternity test, and the paternity test did determine that that was his child. Yeah. Cardi also recently, she had a little meltdown the other day, justified, I think. She is still, in fact, married to Offset. I've read different reports that he wants half, that he wants 10 million, that he wants her to pay his back taxes. I think I read his back taxes were something like 2 million and accruing interest daily. Sir don't have no funds. He don't have no funds, no ends, no dividends, at least not liquid. Otherwise, he would pay his taxes. Cardi was very upset the other day. She said she's at her wit's end. She just had this baby with Stephon Diggs. Cardi says Offset claimed that he was the father of the baby. I'm reading this on page 6. This is from November 16th. It says, according to screenshots shared online, it says Offset posted in his Instagram stories, quote, "My kid, LOL." And he did this after an announcement had been made that Cardi, his estranged wife, had given birth to a baby boy by Stephon Diggs. I'm looking at the screenshot here on page 6. So Cardi responded and then deleted. She wrote, "Y'all be thinking it's so funny and it's not. It's been over a year and I'm still being harassed and threatened to the point that I feel like my life is in danger. It's all fun and games until it's too late." And she continues on. She says, "Motherfuckers do anything for attention, and it could get real nasty with just one upload." She writes in all caps, "Leave me the fuck alone." She continues on. She says, "I'm really tired of getting harassed. And when I get harassed privately and I ignore it, that's when I start getting harassed publicly." She says, "I have every single receipt. Like, I can't take it anymore." Unfortunately, I called this behavior with Offset years ago. I think I wrote the story for Essence.com. It was around the time, I think the first time that he had been publicly caught cheating. Cardi left. I don't know if she filed for divorce, but it was clear that they were at least estranged. And he put up a video of himself looking all sorry and sad, apologizing to Cardi for cheating on her, said he would never do it again. And I hated that video because so many people across the internet started pleading with Cardi to like take him back and give him a second chance. It was such bullying and peer pressure. I called it for what it was at the time. And then he also interrupted her concert. He rolled out this display with all these roses and he was apologizing to her and asking her to take him back. And I was like, this is performative bullshit. He doesn't have boundaries. Like something is wrong with this man. Like this is not how you act when you're trying to get your partner back. It's performative and entirely immature. And people were so mad at me. They were like, oh, just because, your ex-husband didn't try to do XYZ, then, that's why you're bitter and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I've never talked about what he did or didn't do. So you really don't know. But yeah, say anything, all the personal attacks you want when you want to discredit me because I'm making fucking sense. And my critique of Offset wasn't coming from a place of bitterness or, respectability, like, oh, this is the way you have to do things when you blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. I've had up close and personal encounters with crazy, and I can see it very clearly what it looks like because I've seen it up close before. That's all. It's not on a high horse. It's on some like, oh, I didn't see this shit before. Let me tell you about it because you think it means something and it doesn't. And it didn't. Because she stayed with him and he's cheated on her how many different times since then. And now they're in this situation that they're currently in. which unfortunately is surprisingly common. Just from what we know publicly, the public understanding of their marriage is Offset repeatedly cheated on her, with Cardi taking him back in between her crash outs online, crying, sobbing in the dark, talking about him cheating and how bad he makes her feel and all this other shit. And then she finally decided to leave him. I would say that his constant and repeated cheating on her was an indication that he wanted to be with other people, being as how he was repeatedly with other people. It would seem to me, given Cardi's crash outs, that cheating was not acceptable in whatever arrangement, because people have arrangements, but cheating was not acceptable to Cardi in their marriage. It was acceptable to him because he kept doing it, but it was not acceptable to her. Okay, by all means, it would seem that he didn't want to be in the kind of relationship that Cardi wanted from him. He wanted something different, hence why he was with all these different people. It would seem to me that he didn't want to be nobody's husband no more because he was out there in the goddamn streets and he was bad at it because he kept getting caught. Surely we didn't catch him every single time he cheated. Is he that bad at deception? Could be. Cardi finally leaves and he seemingly now is upset that she's left. I'm like, what exactly did you expect her to do? And what he actually did expect her to do, because she'd done it so many times, was to put up with the shit. Just to resign herself to it. Maybe she'll cry, maybe she'll crash out, but she'll still be there until she wasn't. And so now he's mad. His ego is wounded. His cash cow is gone because he ain't got no monies. She has the monies. So now what the fuck is he going to do? Because he's like, I was just fucking them girls. I was going to get right back. And he did until she decided he couldn't. She done had a whole baby with somebody else. She's clearly moved on, and he's not taking it very well. In DV circles, the most volatile time in a relationship, a man could be beating you black and blue, talking to you crazy, choking you up, whole 9 yards for years. The most volatile time, by all accounts, is when you try to leave. That's when mofos lose their mind. Not because they want you, but because their ego is bruised. Cardi's story right now of like, he treated me like shit and then I finally decided to go and now he won't let me go and he's holding me hostage in this divorce, lived it. I have the story. I just don't tell it. We had no shared children, no shared property, and no shared bank account. And yet the divorce took almost 2 years. He just dragged it out in court as long as he could until the judge was like, why are we here? He just didn't want me to move on. That's it. I know so many people with this story. Very unfortunate with Cardi. I hope her lawyers are able to work something out and get this headache away from her. They still got to co-parent the kids, but there is a particular, it feels like a ball and chain when you are legally tied to someone and you want to get away from them and they won't let you go. It's a unique heaviness that doesn't feel very good. I'll leave it at that. What do you want? Not family, not friends, not society at large, you. What do you want and how do you want it? Without the noise of external opinions, you may have the space to find out. On the dating app field, curiosity leads the way towards intimacy with others and yourself. Desires, interests, the space to change again and again. There's room for all of it here. If you have a fantasy, say it. If you have a desire, include it in your bio. You just may get what you want. If life on field interests you, here's a closer look at exactly what happens there. Now, I love Field because it doesn't gatekeep connection. In an age where dating apps create hurdles to finding your people, Field is built differently. They don't guide your desire. You will be neither punished or rewarded for exploring your desires, unless that's your thing. In a place where there's no pressure to be anything, who will you be? My favorite part, there's no fast swipe culture. Sometimes attraction takes time. Here, you don't have to make a split decision in order to see another person. Skip profiles, go back, and take the time you need to decide if you really like someone. Are you ready to give Field a try? That's FEELD. Download Field on the App Store or Google Play.
This episode is brought to you by Disney. This Thanksgiving, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde are back on the big screen. So grab your family and friends as Disney invites you to return to Zootopia for the phenomenal movie event of the holiday season. See all your favorite Zootopia characters plus new favorites in the most pawsome movie of the year. Don't miss Disney Zootopia 2 when it hits theaters everywhere November 26th. Get your tickets now.
What do you want? Not family, not friends, not society at large, you. What do you want and how do you want it? Without the noise of external opinions, you may have the space to find out. On the dating app field, curiosity leads the way towards intimacy with others and yourself. Desires, interests, the space to change again and again. There's room for all of it here. If you have a fantasy, say it. If you have a desire, include it in your bio. You just may get what you want. If life on field interests you, here's a closer look at exactly what happens there. Now, I love field because it doesn't gatekeep connection. In an age where dating apps create hurdles to finding your people, field is built differently. They don't guide your desire. You will be neither punished or rewarded for exploring your desires, unless that's your thing. In a place where there's no pressure to be anything, who will you be? My favorite part, there's no fast swipe culture. Sometimes attraction takes time. Here, you don't have to make a split decision in order to see another person. Skip profiles, go back, and take the time you need to decide if you really like someone. Are you ready to give Field a try? That's FEELD. Download Field on the App Store or Google Play. We have two more topics to discuss. We need to talk about Patrick Beverly. Not really a sports fan, so not super familiar with him. My introduction to him was he has a podcast, Hooping and Hollering. It's on Barstool Sports. They were talking about Klay Thompson, that's Megan's boyfriend. They were talking about his current stats. They note that he's a 4-time NBA champion, but as of late, he hasn't been performing like he used to. And so they speculated on the podcast that the problem is Meg the Stallion. One of the other guys on the show, Jason Williams, I'm trying to get the exact quote. I'm reading it on USA Today, New York Times. They're not giving the quote. He wonders if pussy, that's how he referred to Meg the Stallion, could be contributing to Thompson's struggles. Klay Thompson eventually gets word of this, and then he responds on Instagram, and he says, referring to my girlfriend as pussy is so disgusting and disturbing, especially from someone who played in the NBA. How would y'all feel if I referred to your wives in such a way? And he tagged Pat Beverly. He says, do better, fellas. Very disappointing. Wait, did we talk about Klay and Megan moving in together? They posted a picture the other day. It like they were making heart signs with their hands, and there was a key, and there was a house in the background, a big ass house. And I was like, oh, they're moving right along, aren't they? Anybody else moving in with somebody in about 6 months they've been together? I'd be like, now come on, come on. I want only the best for our Megan. Klay seems like a nice young man. I hope that he is, and that everything works out for the best. But back to this Patrick Beverly. So I had no idea who this man was. All I heard about was this podcast referred to Megan in such a terribly vulgar way. And then his name popped up again, maybe just like a couple days later. He was arrested and for like assault. And so, the story was circulating and it was like, he was sitting on this podcast. He was saying these terrible misogynistic things. And so people pointed out that it was just like, well, what did you expect? He sits there while someone else refers to women as pussy and they have these misogynistic conversations. Are you really that shocked that a man that says misogynistic shit also behaves in a misogynistic way? People heard he got arrested. They heard that there was a woman involved and they assumed the worst, to which he or his lawyers or somebody else, because he got arrested and then like he posted bail, went online to post it, like you should wait and, actually hear what happens because, it's not what you think. So little bits of the story had trickled out. And the initial version was he caught a man assaulting his teenage sister and he beat the man up. And that's why he was in jail. And so people were like, see, he's a good guy. He's not a bad guy. Like he was protecting his sister. As it would turn out, that's not quite the story. So the story that's out now, this is on USA Today, is that he in fact didn't assault the man. His lawyer says the man was 18. There are documents circulating online. Did I screenshot it? I did. There's a document from the Fort Bend Sheriff's Office dated from November 14th. I'm looking at it right now. The young man in question, the adult man who was allegedly assaulting the sister, which he didn't, by the way. Patrick Beverly's lawyer referred to him as an adult in that he's 18. He's actually 17. He was born June 6, 2008, according to this police document, which would make him a minor as well. And then the sister in question is 15. And so Patrick Beverly did, in fact, find the young man in the house with his sister. But let's back up real quick. According to USA Today, who got the story from the police documents, the 15-year-old sister had snuck out the house to go see her boyfriend. When she came back in the house, her mama got to her and was like, where you was at, where you been at, who you was with, blah, blah, blah. The mom told the girl, call that boy back over here. The mom made it seem like she wanted to talk to the boy. She called the boy, 17 years old. She called him back to the house. And while he was there, she called her other son, Patrick Beverly, and told him to come to the house. When he got to the house, she explains to him the sister snuck out. She was with this boy doing God knows what. And then Patrick assaults his sister. According to the sister's version, he choked her the fuck out. She says for 20 to 30 seconds. He lifted her up in the air while he was choking her. He slammed her down on a couch and then punched her in the left eye. The boyfriend leaves the house. Patrick goes after him, actually doesn't do anything to the boyfriend, and the boyfriend calls the police about Patrick assaulting his sister. The police get there. They can see marks on the girl's face. She's got some popped blood vessels in her eye, which are consistent, according to what I'm reading, with somebody who's been choked out. And so the police arrest him. That's crazy. He was booked in Fort Bend County, Texas, charged with assault and impeding a family member's breathing or circulation. And he posted a $40,000 bond. And the information that I just told you that USA Today has, I just want to note this here. They got it from the probable cause affidavit. Oh, I left this detail out. I think it's worth mentioning. After he punched her in the left eye, he told her that he will be the family relative to kill her. From what it's worth, I'm reading further down in this article on USA Today. It says Patrick's attorney denies this version of events. The attorney's Black woman. Her first name is Letitia. Her last name is Hollins. She says the affidavit contains some negative details. However, remember that this is only one side of the story, given at a time when emotions were high. She says, I don't believe that the description in the affidavit is accurate, nor is it complete. Patrick is not a violent man and was not violent that night. She continues that he is the provider and protector of his family, including his little sister and his mom. He has always looked out for their well-being and will continue to do so. I have every expectation that when all the facts are in, Patrick will be cleared of these charges. The USA Today notes that Patrick Beverly is 37 years old. He's old enough to legitimately be his sister's father. Choked out a 15-year-old, allegedly. Allegedly. Do we have anything else on this list? Oh, last but not least, there was a kerfluffle over the weekend, mostly on Threads. Michelle Obama has been on book tour. Her new book, The Look, we talked about in a previous episode. I told you I went up to New York to see her speak. And she did an interview the other day with Tracy Ellis Ross, and she was talking about the history of Black women's hair. And I told you she'd been saying this because she said this when I was at the People thing. But she was talking about how like Black women have been, maligned because of the natural hair texture that grows out of their head. Oh, wow, this whole story made it to Yahoo. Hold on, I'm trying to find Michelle Obama's exact quote. Okay, so Michelle Obama sitting down with Tracy Ellis Ross, and she's discussing beauty standards and Black women's hair, which she's been talking about a lot, like why she didn't wear braids in the White House, why she chose to wear straight hair instead of the braids that she prefers. And she said,
and let me explain something to white people. Our hair comes out of our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped by the straightness. That's why so many of us can't swim and we run away from the water. People won't go to the gym because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all.
So I saw this video. I heard Michelle Obama say about the same when I was sitting in the audience and when I went to see her in New York. And I thought nothing of it because, like, I mean, this is facts. Like, this is true, right? So this woman responds to Michelle Obama, and this thing goes viral. It was up and down my timeline the entire weekend. This woman says, Dear Michelle Obama, newsflash, Black women do not straighten their hair because of white people's beauty standards. She says, as a curly natural myself, most Black women straighten their hair because they choose to, and it's easier to manage for them. Let's drop this narrative that we do anything for the white beauty standard. Black women are the true beauty standard. Why get on stage and say that nonsense? Sometimes, especially recently, because things culturally are just such a mess and the administration has been waging war on Black people, it feels almost illegal to like exist as a Black person right now. It feels like we've regressed in so many ways. I actually have an appreciation in a weird way, hear me out, for this young woman's ignorance that she has been raised in such a bubble or at such a time where she has no recollection or can't identify with feeling that she has to alter her hair texture to go to school, to go on a job interview, to get a date, to go to church, to go to prom, to go to any sort of fancy event where she's not been maligned in some way over her hair texture and made to feel it's not professional or not appropriate for a fancy place. I actually appreciate that she can be so ignorant of what so many women, self included, have been through over wearing their natural hair texture. People were arguing with her all weekend, including India Arie, because of the number of responses and that one of the responses was India Arie. I am not my hair, India Arie. Just for clarity. But India Arie chimed in at some point and tried to, tell the woman what tons of other people were saying that, like, hey, like, Michelle Obama wasn't wrong. And yes, like, Black women were absolutely pressured to alter their hair texture to appeal to a white beauty standard, which is largely straight hair, in order to be deemed respectable, professional, acceptable, all of these things. The woman just clapped back at basically everyone who tried to educate her on this whole thing. Somebody eventually went and did like a deep search into like who she is. She posted some picture of herself on like a Trump golf course and people were like, "Oh my God, have we been arguing with like some MAGA chick?" It seems so. I went natural in 95 after I saw Little Kim, of all people, in a Junior Mafia video sitting in the back of a limousine. She had like this cute curly fro, and I thought her curls were so beautiful. And the next time I went to get my hair done, I had a short, kind of like that Toni Braxton pixie from her first album. I had my hair cut like that, but it was straight. And so I asked my hairdresser, I said, well, how do I get my hair to like, make it curly? Like, do I need like a S curl? Do I need like a wave nouveau? How do I make my hair curly? She was like, you just have to like cut the perm out and then it'll curl up. And I was like, well, can you cut it out? She didn't really make a big deal about it. When my mom came to pick me up, she was livid. Both my parents were. They didn't particularly care for it short, but it was a trend at the time. A lot of people had short hair. It wasn't that big thing. But the idea that my hair was short and did not have a perm, oh my God. My father at one point, I didn't realize till years later, but he was asking me, he said, was there anything that I did? Was there something that I've done to make you do this? I didn't understand until years later that he thought I was a lesbian because I had short, unpermed hair. Also, I did this right before senior pictures. So in my senior pictures, I have a TWA. Oh, my parents were livid. After a couple years, my hair grows out, not quite as big as it is now, but big enough. And I went to Detroit. My grandfather was a pastor of the church. My grandmother was the first lady and played the organ. And I remember after church, I was standing there with my grandmother and people would come up and say, oh, this is Demetria. She's grown up. And my grandmother said something like, oh, you have to excuse her hair. It looks like she put her finger in a socket. And then they had a nice big laugh of like me standing there with like my unpermed hair. College graduation, I remember my mother begged me to straighten my hair for pictures. Some of the biggest arguments that I've ever had with my parents have been over my hair, even when it was straight, but especially once I stopped perming it. There was so much respectability and politics, and like apparently I was limiting my professional options because nobody was going to hire me with my hair, quote and unquote, like that. The idea that this young woman can't fathom that Black women are altering their hair to be deemed respectable or acceptable or professional or appropriate. Like I just said, I I love that we as a society have progressed that far. I just would like folks to know, and probably not the folks listening, it was a hard-won battle to get to this point, and a lot of people's self-esteem and hair follicles took a huge beating in order to persevere to this point. This acceptance of Black hair as it actually grows out of your head is relatively new. The Crown Act, which literally says you can't discriminate against Black people because of their natural hair, it's passed in certain states, but not all of them. Some states have outright refused it. I'm looking at Economic Policy Institute. So 27 states plus DC have passed an actual Crown law, and then there are 10 more states that have similar legislation. Crown stands for Create a Respectful and Open Workplace for Natural Hair. There is no federal law, and with 27, 10, 37, that's 13 states where your hair is not protected. Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Ohio don't have Crown laws. And then some other states in the Midwest, like North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Utah, over in there, don't have Crown laws. I would expect Mississippi and Alabama to have them. I mean, because there's so many Black people, but they're also like hella racist people. All right, that's the episode. Thank you for listening. We'll be back. The Epstein files are probably going to be released this week. It depends on what gets released. I might do a bonus episode. We'll see. That's fair, right? All right. Talk soon. Bye.